Hi guys, it's Donovan Doust. I just wanted to finish up the 6 Max series, or get back to it. Maybe one or two more segments on just covering the metagame, and I'm using a 6 Max format to do it. We already talked about the metagame and how it's changed, the rock paper scissors effect, which you also can call the non-linear hierarchy of playing styles. There isn't a best playing style. The best playing style is to have an adaptive style that is flexible. You wanna play rock paper scissors without your opponent realizing that you're doing so. So like what we were talking about before is in the RPS poker metagame, the P-fish, the payoff wizard calling stations are eaten by the rocks. The rocks are smashed by the maniacs, and the maniacs are eaten by the fish, the payoff wizards. And that just the tags, ruled back in the day, because having a tight aggressive strategy is best against the P-fish. And the passive payoff wizard calling station players that didn't raise very much and called too much were very plentiful. And a lot of the tight aggressive players learned how to correctly approach playing against maniacs, and beating maniacs, and which is essentially you just call more, bet less, and become sort of a temporary P-fish. And those players that were tight aggressive most of the time but could adjust to more of a passive, bet less, call more type strategy against maniacs were basically the best poker players on the planet. Now, fewer and fewer players, again, are calling 4 times the big blind from an early position raise with ace-6 offsuit and the stacking off on an ace-high flop. It just doesn't happen like it used to. So the metagame has definitely changed, and now probably definitely the best way to deal with that is to become sort of like a poker shapeshifter, like a poker mutant, where you're playing RPS correctly. You're playing the rock paper scissors, and the players that are playing their rock paper scissors style might not know that that's what their style looks like. They might not know what style beats it, and they definitely don't know that you know what their style is, and they definitely don't know that you know that they know, that sort of a situation. So the first thing you want to do is ID your opponents and decide if they are, callers, bluffers, nits, and become whatever beats that. So like, let's just take a hand example. In a hand, say we were playing full ring, and your opponent is a total rock. He's maybe a tight aggressive player, but mostly just very tight, and he understands position, and he plays like real by the book, like Harrington on Hold'em, tight aggressive strat. When he open raises under the gun to 3x, and everybody folds to you in the big blind with pocket aces, you might be thinking, okay, well, against a tight player, I don't want to re-raise because I could lose him. But you have to consider his range here. And I really think that your opponent, if you've got him labeled correctly, he's a razor fold poker player, he's a tag, and he's raised under the gun. So, you know what, he has a hand there like 100% of the time. So with your aces, you just 3-bet him, and when he 4-bets, you just stack him. And he's gonna go home and to his friends and talk about how unlucky he was when he ran his ace-king into aces, or his queen-queen or jack-jack into aces. But most of the time, I mean, really, you owned him there, because if the hands were reversed and maybe you had the pocket tens or the ace-king, and it went raise, re-raise, all in, then you would have folded, because nit always has ace-king, queen-queen plus there. Now, if a villain opens up in middle position and he's like a real big aggro-tard, like a very laggy, maniacal player, and you have ace-jack suited on the button, now we're in a totally different situation. Now our opponent has a super wide range to open, and we're trying to beat our loose aggressive opponent. So how do we beat the loose aggressive maniacal player? We don't raise more, we raise less. We don't call less, we call more. So against that loose aggressive player who opens wide, he's going to have a wide range, you're better off flat calling like king, queen suited, ace, jack, pocket eights, pocket nines, because they're hands that are ahead of his range. But if you 3-bet, what does that accomplish against a loose aggressive player? It's going to fold out hands like queen, jack, ace 10, jack 10 suited, the things that you want to flop against, and it's going to get called most of the time by better hands or like similar strength hands. So raising just increases variance, and it doesn't take advantage of your opponent's biggest mistake propensity, which if he's a maniacal player is going to be his ability to just bet and bet and bet with no hand. So when you 3-bet there, you're just turning your ace-jack or king-queen into a bluff. Because, like, what are you hoping to accomplish? Do you want him to fold? He's only folding out worse hands anyway, and a lot of the range that's going to be worse hands, ace-jack or king-queen, is going to have dominated. You definitely don't want to fold out a dominated range, particularly when you have position and you have some idea of your opponent's mistake propensity. Now, when you 3-bet and he shoves on you, what are you going to do with your king, queen, pocket eights, and ace-jack suited? You're probably going to have to muck it and sacrifice all the equity that, your potential equity that you could have flopped with a perfectly good hand. Flat calling maniacs in position with strong but not super premium hands is super plus EV, and it reduces variance as well. You're going to have card edge, positional advantage, and hopefully a good strat for winning post-flop against a maniac or a laggy player. And, all those advantages just become a really plus EV situation. You should really just be printing money when you find yourself in spots like that. Whereas when you re-raise, you turn it into a bluff, like your king, queen, and your ace-jack, where he's never going to fold a better hand. He's rarely going to call with worse, and sometimes he's going to shove on you, and you're not going to be able to call. And he could be shoving with worse, or he could be shoving with better. So without a super specific read, you just need to start flat calling against the maniacs and letting them do, the old saying, like, why do the pushing if the donkey will do the pulling, right? Think of it like that. And like when you do 3-bet ace-jack and your opponent folds, what good does your ace-jack do you? If you're just thinking, well, he'll fold mostly to a 3-bet because he's opening super wide, then why not do that with your, like, ace-4 suited type hands, where at least, you have, you have the potential to fold out better hands. Plus you've got a blocker, maybe you can flop some equity. Or, I mean, you might even be better off, like, say, if you have ace-10 or, like, 7-5 suited, you're probably better off 3-betting with 7-5 suited than ace-10, because at least you'll have live cards when you get called, and probably, like, a sneaky, well-disguised hand. What you don't want to do is, like, force your opponent to play perfect poker against you. So if you raise, you won't fold out better, and you won't be called by worse, so why raise? Basically that's going to be because you have a fear of flopping. And in my next series, I'm going to be working on that. We're going to fix that. So against the lag, we want to get sort of stationy, calling stationy. We flat call ace-jack. Then when the flop comes ace-queen 2, and he bets, we call. And then, it bricks off, or even if a jack comes off on the turn, he bets and we call. And then the river bricks, and then he bets, and we call. And that's how you beat a maniac, is check, call, check, call, check, call, bet, call, bet, call, bet, call. I mean, you don't want to get into a raising war and get him playing pretty much perfect poker against you. That's the last thing on earth you want to do. managed to do pretty well. I think make some good decisions in that last hand. I was kind of going off on a tangent. There's a very high variance play that I made there. Basically just thinking, you know, like, how can he call me? And luckily I guessed right, or he guessed wrong. And yeah, I just figured that, you know, if he doesn't have a spade, he never calls. And if he has a small spade, sometimes he folds, and there was no way I could win the hand, but I took a very strong line. Things got a little sketchy, and when in doubt, I sort of tend to put my tight, weak opponents to the test and let them try to do the math and figure it out. If you've noticed the playing style, look, man, I'm playing 5-10, no limit, and these players are better, no doubt, better than the opponents that I will play against on a regular basis at 200 max, no limit at the casino. You know, live, I honestly believe that live 200 max, 1-2 no limit hold'em players are far worse than the players you'll play online at the 5 cent, 10 cent level, which is a ridiculous statement. And honestly, this table I think is a little bit better than average at this level, but I have a very weak opponent directed to my right, and I do plan to stay here until that changes. So we talked about, you know, some I guess stylistic changes that we want to make against loose aggressive players. Raise less, call more. Against tight players, you know, you can really exploit the fact that you know that they're playing a raise or fold poker game, and that you're going to have a pretty good idea of what their range is like based on their position. Against tight players, you know, you want to start raising more and calling less. Against loose passive players, you want to be tight and aggressive. So you're going to be raising more than you call, but you're going to be folding more than you raise. So essentially, you're going to be tight and aggressive against loose and passive. You're going to be loose and passive against maniacal loose aggressives, and against I forgot where I was at. But yeah, basically, tight aggressive play beats calling stations. Calling stations beat maniacs. Maniacs beat tight players. King 10, obviously I'm going to steal on the button with, perfectly legitimate stealing hand. If the rocket 3-bets me, I'm probably going to go ahead and, this guy, I don't know, he's the type of player, I know, I just get this vibe that he could definitely be 3-betting light here. My King 10 can flop equity, I can call. I have position. I definitely could have re-raised him there. Sort of sticking with the trend of the video and what I've been preaching, I decided to just take a flop here. Didn't work out, but you know, you're gonna have that sometimes. You know, if I flop equity there, he's gonna bet there like all the time, and I was hoping to get a chance to show you how to just like own that type of player. But we'll get more into that in the next video. But I'm going to have to wrap this up now, so I will see you next time. Till then, good luck.